Lesson 2.2, Solving One-Step Equations. To solve an equation means to find the value of the variable that makes the equation true. In solving an equation, the goal is always to isolate the variable on one side of the equation by using inverse operations. Okay, you will remember the inverse of addition is subtraction, the inverse of subtraction is addition. You'll also remember that the inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. So we did this quite a bit last year, and I think that you are quite well versed in solving equations. So I won't take very long on this. We will go through some examples now. One thing I will state is that you must show every step. That goes without saying, so all work must be shown. Okay? All right, write down number one. Number one, G minus 25 equals 113. Well, we know that our variable is G, and we'd like to isolate G. Isolate G means to get it alone on one side of the equation. So right now, G is not alone. What is being done to G on the left side of this equation? Well, we see that 25 is being subtracted from G. So we need to undo that by using the inverse of subtraction, which would be addition. So let's go ahead and add 25 to this side of my equation, and there's a rule that says that whatever you do to one side you have to do to the other, so we're going to add it to both sides of the equation to keep this equation balanced. Now we know that minus 25 plus 25 will cancel each other out, and so G is now left alone, which was our goal. And here we're going to add 113 plus 25, and we have 138. So G equals 138. Box in your answer so that it's clear that that is your final answer. Okay, so we should probably go back and check that 138 minus 25 would be 113. Okay, for each of these you should at least do a mental check to make sure that your answer is correct. Okay, number two. Copy down the problem. P plus 16 equals negative 12. Our variable is P, and we'd like to isolate it. We need to get P alone on one side of the equal sign. So because P is not alone right now, we have to ask ourselves, what is being done to the variable, to P? Well, 16 is being added to it. The inverse of addition would be subtraction. So 16 is being added, I'm going to subtract 16, and whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. Okay, so plus 16 minus 16, we know that cancels out, it equals 0, and so P is alone. Negative 12 minus 16 would be negative 28. So P equals negative 28. It's, again, a very good idea to go back and substitute negative 28 for P in our original. Let me show you. Go back up here and substitute negative 28 for P, and make sure that negative 28 plus 16 really does equal negative 12, and it does. Okay. Number three. 3 and 4, go ahead and do on your own. Pause the video now and work on those, and we'll come back and check your answer. Okay, look at number 3. For number 3, the equation reads 5 equals y plus negative 5. Well, in order to use the inverse operation, I have to subtract negative 5, which is the same as adding 5. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and 10 equals y. On number 4, we're dealing with fractions here. So we have 3/4 equals w plus 2/5. I need to subtract 2/5 from both sides. And so I showed you on the side how we found the common denominator. 3/4 minus 2/5 equals 7/20. Okay. Okay, number 5. Write it down with me. Number 5. Negative 1/2 plus a equals 5/8. Let's do this one together. This is number 5. So my variable is a, and I have negative 1/2 being added to it. How do I undo the addition of negative 1/2? Well, I would have to subtract negative 1/2, which is the same as adding 1/2. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. Okay, so negative 1/2 plus 1/2 is 0, cancels out, and a comes down alone, equals 5/8 plus 1/2. Let me go ahead off here to the side in a different color. Just go ahead and remind you how we add 5/8 plus 1/2. We need a common denominator. It's going to be 8. And so if you look, 5/8 plus 1/2 is 5/8 plus 4/8, which is actually 9/8. 9/8 can be rewritten as 1 and 1/8. Okay, let's go on to number 6. Please write it down. Negative 12t equals 132. Negative 12t is equal to 132. So my variable is t, and what's being done to it is being multiplied by negative 12. Well, how do I undo the operation of multiplication? What is the inverse of multiplication? And that is division. So what I need to do is, because it's being multiplied by negative 12, I need to divide it by negative 12. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And I know that negative 12 divided by negative 12 is 1. And 1 times t is t. So these negative 12s cancel each other out, and t comes down alone. And when I divide 132 divided by negative 12, my answer is negative 11, because 12 goes into 132 11 times. Okay. All right, here we go. Number 7. Forgive me for this. I don't know why there's 2 equal signs here, so we'll just ignore this one. Okay. U over 8 equals negative 4. U divided by 8 equals negative 4. U is being divided by 8. So in order to do the inverse of division, I have to multiply. So U is being divided by 8. What I need to do is multiply by 8 over 1. And whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Multiply both sides by 8. Okay, so you'll notice that when you multiply here, the 8's cancel each other out and U is left alone. And negative 4 times 8 would be negative 32. Okay. All right, here we have negative k over 5 is equal to 7 over 5. All right, so we can do this a number of ways. We can solve it as if it were a proportion, but we won't. We're going to go ahead and solve it as an equation to isolate k. So k is being divided by 5. So my first step is to undo the division. So let's multiply by 5 on both sides. And when I say multiply by 5, I mean 5 over 1. So I'm going to do the same on this side. And when I multiply, here I have negative k is equal to, and here I have 7. Well, I'm not finished because negative k is actually negative 1 times k. There's an invisible 1 in between that negative sign and the k. So I need to divide by negative 1 on both sides. K equals negative 7, and that would be the correct answer. Okay, now let's look at this word problem. It says this: the average time, T, that it takes to manufacture a car in the United States is 24.9 hours. This is 8.1 hours longer than the average time it takes to manufacture a car in Japan. Write and solve an equation to find the average time in Japan. So, the first thing we need to do is define what it is we're looking for. So we want to find the average time in Japan. So we're looking for time in Japan. Okay. We're going to assign a variable. Let's go ahead and assign it T. And let's write the equation. All right. So the average time it takes to manufacture a car in the United States is 24.9 hours. 24.9 hours in the U.S. And the problem says that this what? This, meaning 24.9 hours, is equals 8.1 hours longer meaning more than, plus the average time that it takes to manufacture a car in Japan, and that would be T. So let's write that out. 24.9 is 8.1 plus T. Okay. All right, some practice problems for you tonight. You will do 4, 7, 12, 17 on this page. And then on this page, you will do 4, 9, 14, 21. Okay, make sure you have those done. We will check them tomorrow. We will quite possibly have a quiz on solving one-step equations tomorrow. So go ahead and be ready with questions. Write them down, because you know what? You do tend to forget them if you don't write down your questions. Be ready. First thing in class, we'll go over those. God bless you. Have a great night.